Hello everybody and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast episode 109. Hello at Croeso Podcast Rhydd, Cancer Now. My name is Mr. Gareth Evans. Joining me today is Mr. Henry. That's not CJ Cooper.
I knew it as soon as it happened. As soon as I saw one, I was like, for fuck's sake, there's going to be 100. But at the same time, I just don't give a shit. I should.
It's a good thing, Henry. I always tell you to make mistakes in the videos. Because how much engagement did that get?
I could lie and say, oh, it was deliberate, fuck you. But I just don't give enough of a shit. In my defense, I never completed San Andreas. I never owned it. It was one of those I played around a mate's house. But yeah, I could have checked. I didn't. And yeah. Oh, there was also Nico isn't Polish. He's Yugoslavian / Serbian. I genuinely thought he was Polish. So that one that's like a full-on mistake. But yeah, I should care more, but I'm afraid I just don't.
There's a lot of engagement. Henry, I love you making mistakes like that because there's so much more engagement on these, and there's so many people just like, people get miffed. It's like, oh, God, really? And
some people are really bothered by it, but some people think it's funny. Like, some people see the funny side, and I think they're more enjoyable than the ones who are like, I don't care.
I mean, in your defence, there's a lot of research that goes into these daily videos, and if those of you who aren't familiar, there was just a reference to, you threw a bunch of characters on the screen in the GTA, referring to the prior GTA games in the GTA 6 video this week, and one of the names was wrong that he read out, and oh my goodness, of all the facts that Henry researches and puts up on there, one of them gets wrong, and oh my God, there's hell to pay, Henry. There's hell to pay. So, you must get all your facts right. You call yourself a serious news journalist.
I never said anything of the sort. Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, that was something that happened this week. A few other things happened this week that we're going to talk about. Henry played Scarlett Nexus. I've got the funny story of the week. There's an update to the Goldeneye on remade in Far Cry 5 story. We've got Metalshark's quiz of the week after that, followed by Discord questions, triggered fanboy comment of the week, other YouTube comments, and then a bad dad joke to finish off. But first up, let's jump into Scarlett Nexus. What is this game, Henry, and how did you like it?
So it's been kind of like half on my radar for a minute. I saw a trailer a while ago, and then it just came out like last week. Was it last week? Yeah, last week. On the 25th of June. It's a Japanese action RPG, but I wouldn't really call it a JRPG. It's much more of an action RPG, but with like a Japanese thing. You know what I mean? Because it's not like Final Fantasy or turn-based or anything like that. It's developed by, I think you say it, Toze, / Bandai Namco Studios, and published by Bandai Namco, which shouldn't really come as a surprise. They handle loads of games like this. It describes itself as brain punk, which is, I can kind of see what they mean. It's basically cyberpunk, but everything is like to do with the brain and weird psycho powers, you know, like special abilities that they can get from your brain, and it's like wires go into your brain and then you connect to someone else's brain and you share a brain. Weird brain shit. There's the shorthand way of doing it. And basically it's in a world where there's a war between, you know, the regular people and these extra dimensional creatures that they just call others. It's a very easy name for them. You control members of the OSF, which is the Other Suppression Force, as you try to fight back. It's very, very anime in the art style, and like it's happy-go-lucky team dynamics of everyone on the team has their own like unique little personality, even though all of them are pretty much, at least at the point I'm in, very tropey. I am only like 6 hours in, so I'm not very far in. But there's 2 playable characters who are actually separate. It's not just a gender swap. So you can be, forgive me if I pronounce any of these names wrong. I've been hearing a lot of Japanese names, and a lot of them confused me. Yuito Sumeragi is a guy, and he uses a sword and has psychokinetic abilities. And psychokinesis is basically telekinesis. It's throwing shit with your mind. And then there's Kasani Randall, who's a girl, and she uses like throwing daggers / like shuriken boomerang type thing. You throw them and then they come back. And she's also psychokinetic. Yuito is a member of one of the wealthiest, most powerful families in the world, and his dad and brother hold senior positions in like the political landscape and the security force and all that. So there's a lot of background there that is yet to be explored, at least to the point I'm in. And he's proud, he's noble, he's like, he volunteered to join the sci-fi brain punk army to fight back and save the world. Then Kasane, she's also from a strong family, but she's like the moody one, the mysterious one. No one quite knows what's going on there. And there is some kind of background connection between the two, but we don't know that yet. Well, I don't know that yet. So that's going to be interesting to find out. But it's not just these two. You play as either one of them, and their paths crisscross, but they're not exactly the same. They are off doing their own separate things. You're not just playing exactly the same storyline. The rest of the characters are, like I said, they're all kind of like tropey, and they've got like one key personality trait, and that defines everything about them. So there's a Nagi, who's like the fun-loving, easygoing best friend who's there for a good time, and he's always smiling. He's always there to keep everyone happy. There's Naomi, who's like the pretty cute anime girl next door type. Fortunately, thus far, there's not been an overabundance of tits, which I think is really cringy in most things. They're just, you know, they have tits, they're there, but they're not like, whoa, here's a pair of boobies, which I can't stand. There's other characters like Hanabi, who is like Yuito's best friend from childhood, and she totally has a crush on him because, like I said, it's a little bit teeny, and there's group dynamics. They're all like teenagers in this shit, or even though they're voiced by 30-year-olds, you can't tell how old they are because they're anime characters, and anime characters are either 1,000 years old or like 10. There's Kagero, who's the cocky one. There's Shiden, who's the mean arsehole one. Gemma, who is the big, burly, like, strong one. You know what I'm getting at. Everyone has, like, their thing, and then they stick to that. So it's got a party system, and you can have up to 2 party members, but you will always control either Yuito or Kasane. But what I think makes it interesting is you've got your regular abilities. So you've got, like, regular sword attack, a special attack, which is just kind of a different sword attack, jumps, dodges, all that. But then you've got these psychokinetic abilities, which really spice things up. So that most of your attack inputs are on the face buttons, but then the psychokinetic stuff is on the triggers. So at any point you can just pull a trigger, and you'll literally find an object in the world, grab it with your mind, and just yeet it at an enemy. It's always satisfying, and it's great. So then you can, if you do like an attack, then a psychokinetic attack quickly, you can do like this combo, and you can basically do that back to back to back for ages, and just deplete your entire meter of just throwing object, smashing them, throwing object, slashing them. And it's really cool. The combat in this game is really, really awesome. I'm not far enough into the story yet to really be able to judge it, but it seems kind of interesting, albeit, like I said, it's a bit like teen adventure, we're gonna save the world. I'm like, okay, stop being so positive, all right? The world is fucked. You're being invaded by weird extra-dimensional aliens. Be a bit sadder, okay? Yeah. But when the party members come in, they've all got unique abilities too. So there's Hanabi, she's got pyrokinesis, which is basically fire powers, and they all have unique weapons as well. So she's got a bow staff, and that's pretty self-explanatory how her power works. She just makes fire. But when you use her, your party are on like the right bumper, then there's a face button depending on which one you've assigned, and that basically just bolsters your attacks with fire damage. So if you use something in the environment to set an enemy on cover an enemy in oil, you can then hit them with the fire attack, and it's going to do extra damage, which is pretty simple but highly effective. Then there's some characters who are a little bit stranger, like Kagero. He can go invisible when he uses a dagger, and invisible, that's pretty self-explanatory. Again, it's useful for stealth, but it can also be used to attack really effectively, because you can sneak behind them and get a really powerful backstab attack, which does a shitload of damage. Each party member can fight independently by themselves and do their own thing, but they all have different stats and kind of fighting styles. So some are better suited to like all-out attack all the time, go hard, whereas others, it's best to have them stay back, because you can command them a little bit. You can either all-out attack, be a bit defensive, or hold off, focus on healing, attack my target, attack a different target kind of thing. Annoyingly, you can't issue these commands, or like, it's not really commands, it's more like fighting styles, I suppose. You can't issue those like in combat. You've got to do it in a menu, or at least there's not a way that I've come across. It feels like it's such an obvious inclusion that I feel like I must be missing something. Like, why can I not give them commands within combat? Instead, I've got to go in a menu, and that is just, breaks up everything. But each of your party members gets stronger as you bond with them, because, like I said, this is an anime-friendly adventure. We're going to be together and we're going to save the world like a family. And normally these are, well, the handful I've done so far, they're called Bond episodes, and you basically just watch like a cutscene with them. You don't actually have to do anything. It's just like a bit of exposition and background, and oh my god, there is a lot of exposition in this game. It's one of those where the two characters are talking about shit that both of them already know, but I don't as an audience member, so they're like, hey, do you remember when you did this? Yeah, I do. I'm now going to explain to you when you did this so that the audience knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those you kind of just got to grin and bear it, because it's a sci-fi futuristic world, and they've got to catch you up on that shit. But eventually you'll get through it, and you're like, okay, now I know all of this backstory and lore. Let's get to the good stuff. Well, speaking of the cutscenes, when you do these Bond episodes, pretty much all of the cutscenes are like static images rather than full animation, which I think looks quite stylistically cool. It looks quite striking, but I can easily see that being kind of boring for some people, because they're not always the most exciting. But in their defense, they do throw up images really quickly. It's not just static text box talking over and over and over again. They have dynamic camera angles and different things in like freeze frames, so it is quite interesting to watch. But I mean, nothing beats a good bit of proper animation, especially in an anime inspired game like this.
Yeah.
So you get stronger with time as well, but obviously you don't need to bond with yourself. You just get regular old upgrades from XP and killing enemies. That's pretty standard stuff. You can get like stat buffs from a skill tree or brand new abilities, one of which really seems like so pointless. Why is a double jump in a skill tree, especially in a game where platforming isn't a thing? I don't need to be able to double jump. Why can't I just have this? It doesn't benefit me that much in terms of combat or anything. Anyway, that's just me complaining. At the moment, there's like 3 different paths I can go down, and there's one more, I think. There's space for one more that isn't there yet, so that's quite exciting. I don't know what that's going to be. But you also can buy stronger weapons to do, obviously, more melee damage. But there's not really any, again, so far, there's not really any strategy there. It's just buy whatever the new one is because it's better than the last one. It's not like there's a toss-up of, oh, this one's got better speed, but this one's got better power. None of that. It's just whichever one the new one is, it's the best one. There is this cool ability called, I think, Brain Crush. Like I said, everything's brain. It's like Batman. It's bat in front of everything. It's brain in front of everything. And this happens when you beat down an enemy's, like, I think they call it the brain gauge or something like that. It's basically the stamina. If you just keep hurling objects at them, keep throwing stuff with your psychic powers at them, eventually you can then trigger this awesome one-hit kill animation, and this is a proper animation, it's not just a freeze frame, and that's anime as hell. You'll like launch them in the air, dash up through them, chop them in half, then land down with a dramatic like sword spin flare thing, and then they die. That's really cool. It's a one-hit kill as well, so it's really efficient, and it's very seamless, so it's not like it takes you out of the moment just to show off how flashy this animation is. It's like you do it and then it's done, and it's a matter of seconds and you're back to it, which I think is really cool. And even if you don't like the little animation thing, I'm pretty sure you can either turn it off entirely or shorten it in the settings, which is useful. There's also this thing called Brain Drive, which basically just amps you up when you're fighting, and all of your moves get powered up. But that's not something you can trigger manually. It's something that just happens, which seems like a kind of an odd choice. I would have expected it to be like a power up you can activate. But all in all, I am really enjoying myself with Scarlett Nexus. I love a good action game like this. It's very like Devil May Cry or like a Platinum game. I mean, it's not as sharp as any of those, but it's still really cool. I like the world. I like the style of it, and I think that the story has just got to a point where the real meat of it's about to kick off. There's like a conspiracy that started to unfold, and you don't know who you can trust on the team or whatnot, which is interesting, and I'm looking forward to carrying on with it, especially because there are 2 playable characters. So you'll do it once with one character, then go back through with the other character and see their side of the story and see what they were up to. But yeah, I've been having a really great time with Scarlett Nexus, and it's the kind of game where if it looks like the kind of thing you like, it probably is. It looks like what it is. There's no if you don't like anime or don't like action games like this, you're not going to like it. But if you do, it's exactly that, and kind of not much else. But that's not really a bad thing. It doesn't bring anything new to the table, but it's fun. The combat's really cool. Throwing objects at people is always satisfying. And I also forgot to say, in some of the environments there are like other objects which you can interact with, which are like unique kills. There'll be like a barrel you can grab, and then you slam it down on them, and then they're covered in oil. Or there'll be like a crane which you can, just drop on their head and do massive damage. But those ones there's a bit more timing and skill to it, because you do the input with the left trigger this time, and then you've got to push them the sticks in a certain direction or something. But you've got to do it like really snappy, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can completely waste your opportunity to use that, and then you're wide open for attack. So there's a bit of strategy to it. It's not the most complex thing in the world. So far, it's been very easy. I could do with turning difficulty up, but I generally don't do that. Like, I'd like to stick with whatever one I picked at the beginning and hold that through. But I'm really enjoying it. I think it's currently sitting at like an 8 out of 10 on Metacritic. I think it's got a 9 on Steam. Yeah. It performs really well. I've not seen any performance issues. It's been like a solid 60 frames per second the entire time. And it's been great. I've had a fabulous time.
That's cool. 80 on Metacritic, 7.9 user score. It's available on PC, PS4, Xbox One, Series X, and PS5. And it looks good. The aesthetic of this is quite. It's got a very clean aesthetic effect. Like, it's this kind of weird cyberpunky type of world, and it's very Devil May Cry, but it's very coherent. Like, it looks. I mean, the color scheme's really.
Yeah, it's very like readable and sharp, and everything is red. It's Scarlett Nexus. Everything is red. I would describe the car. I probably did say the characters are a colourful cast of characters. That was very difficult to say. Colourful cast of characters, but they're not that colourful. They're all red. They're all red.
Yeah, it does look good. The thing that would put me off about these type of games is when it's a JRPG would be like when it's turn-based combat, because this is an action. Combat. This is something that would appeal, that's for sure. So check it out. That's Scarlett Nexus, released on the 25th. That's a week ago, and that's Henry's first impressions.
It's cool.
So let's move on to story number 2. The funny story of the week, Henry.
Okay.
This is a cautionary tale for all lonely gamers or gamer boys out there, right? So the first thing to learn is that people actually pay money to other people to play games with them. This is a thing that I can't comprehend happening, but apparently it happens. And this story hails from China. Gungzhou Daily News on Weibo is the outlet and the place. So apparently this Chinese man was buying the services, or paying for the services, via an app of Zhao Zhun, his name was, and he was paying Zhao Mei to play games with him, specifically League of Legends. So she's a female player for hire.
Pick something good. God's sake.
I mean, if that's what he wants to spend his money on, let him. It's his money. Okay, so this happened between November 2019 and April 2020. 5 months' time. He spent $11,000 through the app, paying her to play with him. He got so bonded with her, let's say, we're talking about bonding in the previous game, that he felt like, there's something romantic happening here. Let's ask her out on a date. So he asked her out on a date in February, and she refused.
Shock.
She refused, and it's just a business thing for her. Well, undeterred, actually, I mean, you spend $11,000 on a girl, and she still refuses a date, having spent all that money on her, then the only reasonable thing to do in my eyes is, why not try another $11,000? And that's what he did.
I was like, if someone was paying me that money, then they asked me to go out, and I said no. If they kept paying me, I'd be like, yeah, sure, let's go. Why not? It's another 11 grand.
So he thinks, he doubles down, essentially, gambler's fallacy, sunk cost fallacy and all that. 11 grand extra. But this time, he sent her personal gifts to her house. We're talking what was described in this outlet: watches, cosmetics, etc. With the words. So during the subsequent months, he continued to ask her out on dates, and she refuses. Right. So the breaking point came when Jun had his in-game friends and fans in League of Legends call Mei his wife while they were playing together. This was too much for Mei. She was like, no, this working relationship is too much. I want to terminate it. It's over. This broke Jun's heart to the point where he decided to take this to court, and he went to the Zhangjiang Yuhu District People's Court and sued her for, quotes, unjust enrichment to try and get his 22 grand back.
Jesus Christ, please tell me this guy got laughed out.
It concluded with pretty much that, Henry. They laughed him out of court, saying that the two had a, quote, service contract relationship for playing League of Legends, and everything that he sent her was, through the post, was voluntary, and the case was dismissed pretty quickly. I'm just thinking, what if he'd have spent an extra 30 grand? Maybe that'd have been enough. Maybe he was just too much of a cheapskate for her.
I mean, if this guy has this much money to effectively burn on nothing, he's got to have, surely a reasonable job, right? If he's got 22 grand to just fling at some floozy he's never actually met. So surely, with that kind of money available, that kind of job, you're a reasonably eligible bachelor. What is preventing you from meeting someone the conventional way? I mean, obviously, lockdown across the world. I think, China's... Who knows how China are actually doing? Because if anyone's going to lie about it, it's going to be China.
Yeah.
I mean, that has made things a little more tricky. But you've got 22 grand to burn. Why not just hire a hooker? Get your rocks off the old-fashioned way, and then I'm sure that'll make you feel better, or it'll make you feel so much worse that you'll never do it again. So as far as I can tell, that's a win-win. But this,
imagine getting to the point where 11 grand, you spent 11 grand on hiring somebody to play a game with you, and thinking, well, I haven't got a date yet. Let's just keep spending and see how it goes. She must like me. She doesn't say she likes me just because I'm paying her, is she? Not. She must like me.
I mean, you've got to admire his tenacity, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or blind ignorance. Well, the question is, should she have terminated it sooner? If he's offering her money and offering her the same service, nothing is changing. It's, you play League of Legends with me, and that's the only thing she's doing. He can keep asking for dates all he likes. That's not part of the agreement. I don't think she's done anything wrong there, unless there was a bit more,
dick teasing.
Yeah, teasing and manipulation to
or click teasing. Am I right?
Exactly. I was trying to think of a League of Legends joke, but I don't want to play that game ever, so I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, maybe.
Considering
I don't want to get into this situation, and I certainly don't have 22 grand to spare on a girl.
Well, yeah, I mean, the sheer notion of paying somebody to play a game with you can't. That is beyond my comprehension. It's like paying somebody to play a game with you because you're so lonely. I mean, can't you just jump into a random multiplayer game? Surely you'll meet people. Yeah. You don't have to pay someone. All right, so you start paying people, and then you get to 11 grand, and then you want to pursue something romantic, and then you pay 22 grand, and then of all the bad decisions that have led up to this point, you decide, well, I want my money back. Let's take it to court. It's like it's just layer upon layer of bad decisions, and this guy is just getting what he deserves.
I think it seems a bit like in for a penny, in for a pound. It's like, well, I've already spent 11 grand. What's another 11 grand? Let's just go for it.
And the legal fees on top.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Obviously.
Well, at least they threw it out. They're like, we're not wasting our time with this. What's the young lady's name? Zhao Mei. Good hustle, love. You've done it, and
I mean, there are a stupid person has money are soon parted, or whatever the expression is. Like this, a fool and his money are soon parted. This is exactly it's a cautionary tale. Like I said, for all of you lonely guys there online, Don't spend 22 grand trying to get a date with some random girl when you could just go to a brothel and get your rocks off a lot cheaper. And, you know, you can get a lot more value for that 22 grand.
Go to a bar or something. Talk to people. Try.
Pick up a girl.
You know, doing it by being charming and charismatic and nice instead of just trying to buy your way through.
So that was the funny story of the week. Next up is an update to an earlier story. I'm not sure if you covered it, but there was a story making the rounds this week that fan-made Goldeneye 007 remake was created in Far Cry 5 Arcade. And if you're unfamiliar, that's one of the best features from 2018's Far Cry 5 was the arcade. This is where users can create and upload their own maps and share with the community. So it basically, once you've done with the campaign or you just got this extra content where people are just making it, it's a great creative tool for people who are creative minded, and it's a great additional bonus in gameplay for all the people who just want to keep playing the game, loads of maps. So this guy, his name is Crollywood, he's a YouTuber. He made all the stages from the N64 GoldenEye 007 in the Far Cry 5 engine. Took him over 1,440 hours and 2.5 years to remake all the 18 levels. Now, the news this week was that on June the 23rd, Ubisoft sent him a message because MGN, who owns the franchise or the trademark or whatever, contacted him over the fan-made maps, and they will have to be removed. And this is a message that I'm reading here from him to one of his friends. So Crollywood says the following statement from me. Ubisoft sent me a mail because they got one from MGM. I think the reason is that project becomes more popular after 3 years now, and because of IGN, Kotaku, etc. made an article, many people know about it now. Yes, what can I say? It's really sad but my work isn't deleted because I saved all the levels on my PS4/PS5 and PS Plus cloud and USB stick. I don't know if there's a legal way to upload them again because I'm on the radar now, I think. If you look at the levels, if you ever played the original GoldenEye, it looks so good, and it's done like GoldenEye 007 on the N64. For those of you who don't know, one of the very first split-screen multiplayer shooters, and it was a classic game. Like for those of you who lived through that time, it's one of the ones that you'd always remember sitting there with your mates playing GoldenEye. It's absolutely classic, and to see it remade like this in the Far Cry 5's painstaking detail. For the love of the craft, it's amazing. Getting it pulled down, it's sad. Sad for the players, sad for everyone. And just because they want to protect this trademark or copyright on a game which they're not even fucking selling anymore, it's absolute ridiculous. Yeah. But the good news is, in the update to the story, the maps are now back online, however, with a few tweaks. He's achieved this by calling the maps a different name. They're now called Golden Cry, and he has also removed all references to Bond, and they're now back online for the time being. So if you're looking for them on a PS4 store, you should search for a creator named Perfect-Dark 1982, or if you're looking for it on a PC arcade, Far Cry 5 arcade, you should look for the stage name Golden Cry, or by creator Graslu00, that's GRASLU00. They're not actually on the Xbox version of the game just yet, but that's how you can get hold of them if you search for them. You can't find them through James Bond or anything anymore. And that is it. It remains to be seen if MGM will continue their pursuit of taking him down, but now he's removed all the references. That is a win, hopefully, for the community. Yeah. But this whole situation about them trying to take down this content, which wouldn't be affecting their bottom line in any way because they're not selling the game anymore, and he's not making money off it either. So, it's just corporate, it's just bullshit, isn't it?
We've seen it so many times, and it happens when fans are just as talented as some of the developers. They make something really, really cool, and then the owners of the game or whatever the thing is inspired by get all pissed off and try and fuck over that community member. What was the thing? What one is it? Is it the game? It's the Valve game. Dota. Dota started off as a mod for Warcraft 3. So that then when they did the remake, the remastered, what do they call it? Warcraft 3 Reforged. They made it so that they own all user generated content, so that they'll never lose out on the thing again.
Uses it now.
Which is, it's absurd. I mean, they can do that, but it's one of those things where, like, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? It's screwing over your players, who are, the most important people. But if I wanted to put on my tinfoil conspiracy hat for just a moment, MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the production company behind the James Bond movies and the license holder, they are currently in the process of being acquired by Amazon. And Amazon is really bad at making games, but it keeps trying. So maybe they're going to do a James Bond game. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe that's in the works. Just going to throw that out. Well, I think there is definitely at least one James Bond game in the works. And I think that's with who it's the Hitman people. I can't remember what they're called. Who makes Hitman? They're doing a
IO.
IO Interactive, that's it. Yeah, they're doing a James Bond game.
Yeah, well, unless they're actually doing a Goldeneye remake.
Yeah, specifically Goldeneye.
Yeah, this isn't going to help. It's actually going to, anyone who plays a James Bond themed game is going to, especially a classic like Goldeneye, they're going to generate positive feelings towards that franchise. So in future, if an official game does come out, they're more likely to engage with that game and buy it. It's free advertising, man. It's free marketing is what this is, and they're shutting it down. And this is some of the archaic thoughts that these big corporations have, thinking that we have to strangle everything that everyone who tries to mimic our brands or whatever. When in essence, he's not making money off this. This is just free advertising. This is free marketing for that brand, for that game brand. And it's just short-sighted and it's ridiculous. But we could talk for a while about these corporations making fucking stupid decisions because they've got a team of lawyers who just want to justify the fucking jobs. Essentially, that's all it is. They've got a huge wing of lawyers that just look at sitting around an office all day. Oh, we've got to do something, trying to justify their fucking pay
even if they don't think they're going to win, they'll just chance it anyway because they can afford to. Like, they don't lose anything. Because some independent creators not going to have the financial power to go to war with them, so they'll give it a go, and then if it goes any further, they're probably going to win, and if not, they've lost nothing.
That's it. Okay, so that was the update to that story, and that was our 3 kind of featured sections of this podcast. Next, we're going to move on to the Metalshark quiz of the week. So, quiz of the week for Henry this time, with a rock and metal theme.
Bollocks.
As this may be tricky, Gaz can give out a rendition on guitar or by humming of music from any correct answers he knows as a clue. I don't know a lot of I've read through them to see if I could. I do have my guitar handy, but I just don't know any of these songs, unfortunately. So, you're going to have to do without my help. I actually there's a little Easter egg somewhere, Henry, that I'm going to help with one of the questions. But
is it a Welsh thing?
We'll get to that. No, we'll get to that. So, Henry, this is your quiz, and let's jump to it. Question 1. Which series of games did Mick Gordon first work on? A, Destroy All Humans, B, Doom, or C, Prey?
Well, it wasn't Doom, because he had an established career before that, but Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, they're what really broke him to the legendary status that he is among game composers. I think it's Prey. I'm quite sure he did Prey, but I don't know if he did Destroy All Humans. But Destroy All Humans is older than Prey, so that's where it's a bit of a toss-up. But I'm going to say Prey because I'm quite confident he did work on that, but Destroy All Humans, I don't know if he did.
He also worked on Destroy All Humans. So that's one incorrect. Unlucky, Henry. Question 2. Avenged Sevenfold, a heavy metal band from California, have released an original song for each game in which FPS series? Is it A, Armor, B, Call of Duty Black Ops, or C, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six?
I didn't realise it was each game in the series, but I'm pretty sure they did Black Ops.
Is correct.
Yeah. It's quite a good song. The
was-
one I thought they only did one.
Yeah, apparently. We've done one for each game in the series. Question 3. Trent Reznor, multi-instrumentalist and lead vocalist for Nine Inch Nails, composed music for the original version of which classic id Software title? A. Doom, B. Quake, or C. Wolfenstein?
Oh, I'm so annoyed because I do know this. I just can't remember which one it is. I'm going to say Quake because it's a tad more modern than Doom and Wolfenstein from the classic version, because they're ancient games now, but Quake's slightly younger, so I think that's more in when Trent Reznor was really active with Nine Inch Nails.
So Trent Reznor composed music for Quake, you're saying, and the answer is Quake. Congratulations. All right, question number 4, Henry. That's 2 from 3 so far. What is the name of the positively rated, very positive on Steam as of the 30th of June 2021, open world action game set in a universe they describe as, quote, somewhere between Lord of the Rings and Spinal Tap, featuring music from Motorhead, Marilyn Manson, Cradle of Filth, Megadeth with Ozzy Osbourne, Rob Halford, Tim Curry, Lemmy Kilmister, can't even say that. Lemmy Kilmister and Jack Black also providing voice acting. And this is your clue. It doesn't actually say what game it is, but this is the T-shirt from that very game.
I knew the answer to this one anyway. It's Brutal Legend. Because Brutal Legend, it's
before the questions,
actually great. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of stupid, weird strategy elements in it, but it's funny and it's very self-aware. And Jack Black's amazing and everything. And I really like Brutal Legend.
Well done. I didn't even need to read out the options there. Brutal Legend is the answer, correct. So that's 3 from 4 so far. Question 5. Which Nottingham industrial band, and this quiz writer's favourite, had 3 of their tracks on each of the following Test Drive 5, Twisted Metal 3, and Rally Sport Challenge 2? Was it A, Fudge Tunnel, B, Pitch Shifter, or C, Sabbath?
I don't know who any of those are, but Fudge Tunnel sounds a little bit inappropriate.
Fudge Tunnel.
I'm gonna say Pitch Shifter because it's like shifting a gear stick, and they're all driving games.
Is a good guess. Is correct.
Oh yes.
So,
I don't know if that logic is
Industrial
correct.
Band, Pitch Shifter. Well done. That's 4 from 5 so far. Question 6. The 1982 Atari game Journey Escape, where you had to guide band members past, quotes, hordes of love-crazed groupies, sneaky photographers, and shifty-eyed promoters to a Scarab escape vehicle, featured which band? A, Journey, B, Scarab, or C, Van Halen?
Well, it's called Journey Escape, so perhaps Journey. It has a Scarab escape vehicle, so perhaps Scarab. But there's no direct mention of Van Halen. So I'm going to say it's Van Halen because they're the odd one out.
That's an interesting rationale, and it's actually wrong. The answer was Journey.
How boring. What a rubbish name.
Journey Escape. It's it was, yeah. It is what it is. Unlucky. That's 4 from 6 so far. Wow. Question 7. Which band have been abducted and need rescuing member by member in the 1994 arcade rail shooter called Revolution X, where you shoot CDs at enemies who have declared war on youth culture and have banned all forms of music, television, magazines, and video games? Is it A, Aerosmith, B, Pearl Jam, or C, Smashing Pumpkins? The Smashing Pumpkins. Say that right.
I'm not that familiar with the Smashing Pumpkins. I kind of know Pearl Jam. And I know a little bit about Aerosmith, but I think I could see Aerosmith doing this more than the others.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. Aerosmith did do that. So that is another correct. That's 5 from 7 so far. Question 8. What is the name of the 1999 PC shooter where you play as the Iron Maiden mascot featuring a deadly tour of London's East End? Is it A, Call to Arms, B, Ed Hunter, or C, Out in the Madness?
I know what the Iron Maiden mascot looks like, but I don't know what it's called, so that doesn't help. I'm going to say Call to Arms. It's a generic shootery name.
Call to Arms is incorrect. Unfortunately, the answer is B, Ed Hunter.
That would have been my second choice, because I think that is what he's called, but...
Yeah, so that's 5 from 8. Question 9. What type of game was Kiss Psycho Circus The Nightmare Child released in the year 2000 for Dreamcast and PC? Was it an action-adventure, a driving, or a pinball game? Kiss Psycho Circus The Nightmare Child is the name of the game.
A pinball game is the kind of safe answer, because there's millions of them and you can license anything into a pinball machine, so I'll just go for a pinball machine. Well, a pinball game rather, not machine.
Pinball game is correct. That's a good answer.
And Kiss will slap their logo on anything.
6 from 9. Question 10, the final question. Which spin-off title had composer Jamie Christopherson working with vocalists including John Bush from Anthrax, Jason Miller from Godhead, and Tyson Yen from State Line Empire, as well as ex-Machine Head member Logan Mader? How do you say that? Was it A, Ace Combat Assault Horizon, B, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, or C, Tekken Advance?
I think it might well be Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, because that soundtrack is really good. I haven't actually played the full game. I've played bits of it, but I've listened to the soundtrack loads, and I think Jamie Christopherson did that. He may well have done all of these, but I'm going to say Metal Gear Rising.
You're absolutely right, Henry. That is correct. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Good answer. That is 7 correct from 10. It's a good show, sir. It's a good show.
It's not bad.
It's about average. It's a good. You didn't embarrass yourself.
No,
there,
I'm comfortable with that performance.
Yeah, you did a lot better than I had done on those questions. I'd been lost.
A lot of them I just
Legends,
didn't know, so I had to guess. And I got some lucky guesses. I got some unlucky guesses.
Yeah. Well, thanks as always to Metalshark for putting that quiz together and all the hours that go into. I say hours. I don't know how long it takes you, but it must take a long time. So thank you very much, Metalshark, for the commitment to the cause and appreciation. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the community questions from the Discord. Henry, would you like to read the first one?
Certainly. The first one is from Marcus Hicks. For both Gaz and Henry, if you ever found yourself in a position where you could only play 3 games for the rest of your life, which 3 games would you choose and why? This is a very difficult question.
Okay, I've got 2 off the bat.
Yeah, I've got 2.
Go with Crusader Kings 3, because you know you're going to get updates for that for forever, and it's a classic. It's a brilliant game, right? It's a strategy game, and I could just play with that. You start with all different factions. That's got almost endless replayability factor. A more recent game that I've played, Divinity Original Sin 2. I'll stick that on my list because, again, it's one of them games where you can probably replay it and still get loads of stuff out of it. The third one, a little bit tricky to answer, but I think I've got a strategy game and an RPG. I'd have to go with something a bit different, like an endless space sim. I'm reluctant to say No Man's Sky though. Have you got any answers before I choose my last one?
My first instinct, without really even thinking, was Smash Bros. Ultimate, just because I play it so much and there's so many characters. The newest one, Kazuya from Tekken, came out this week. He's okay. And I've already got so much enjoyment out of that, and I don't really get tired of it. And you can play it on your own, you can play it with other people. It's my favourite multiplayer game, really. The next one, I think, is kind of the opposite. It's something you play on your own, and it's because I've played it so many times, and again, I've never gotten bored of it. I can easily go back to it over and over again. The original The Last of Us, just for a solid story-driven experience, no bells and whistles, very, very simple gameplay. It's not, there's no complexity or anything like that. It's basically just a cover shooter. And then my third one, probably a big old RPG like Skyrim, because Skyrim's very digestible. It's not very complicated in terms of there's loads of systems, but you don't have to engage with most of them if you don't want to, which I think is part of its big appeal. And obviously you can role play it. You can play so many different ways, so many different play styles or like character classes and whatnot. So yeah, I think they'd be my three: a good multiplayer game, a standard linear action game, and a big old RPG.
That's cool. I think I've got my final one. My final one would be Star Citizen, and I know this is it isn't really technically a full game yet, but
will it
if
ever
I'm going
be?
to play any game for the rest of my life, it might take the rest of my life for this game to be finished. So at the very least, it'll be getting better that whole time. So it's going to be, you're going to get new things for a good while. So yeah, I think that's a good choice because the game is never static. Like if you're playing an old game and there's no updates, it'll maybe get a bit boring after a while. But at least with Star Citizen, you've got at least 5 years worth of updates before they even release it again, and that's probably being a little bit generous. It's probably going to take another 10 years. But thanks for the question, Marcus. That was good. Let's move on to the next question from Dayoth. He asks the following: so, we ever getting the classic brick wall back with in-person podcasting, or are we doomed to enjoy Henry's same 3 shirts and openings until the end of time? If the brick has retired, any particular plans for new post-DOS Equus layout and presentation? Could always fancy up some green screen. I think maybe the in-person podcasting and the brick wall, which is actually of that side of my thing, probably time has come. The curtain has been pulled on those because of how well it works for us personally in this setup. I think getting Henry here every Thursday when we record these, just specifically to record a podcast, and all that traveling and the expenses it causes because we live so far apart, doesn't make a lot of sense really. So yeah, I think you're stuck with the current format. Whether we can keep Henry, immortalize him in them 3 intros for the rest of the life of the channel, we don't know. I mean, in 10 years' time, Henry might still look 24 years old or whatever he was in those videos.
I'm at the point now where it's been like 18 months since I recorded them, something like that. Or a little less, maybe like 15. I kind of just want to keep it, it just leave them as they are, or maybe
just for old time's sake,
try and recreate it as close as possible in the exact same outfit, same hairdo, green screen the brick wall, keep everything exactly the same, but just re-record it and see if anyone notices. I think that'd be quite funny. But I do often think, oh yeah, I should re-record new ones, but at the same time I'm like, does it really matter? Or just scrap the intros entirely, because are they really necessary? Is the question? Or could just do it as a voiceover or something like that. I do think about it, but ultimately I don't. I think they're fine. I don't think it will add anything or detract anything whether they are changed.
No, I think the most reasonable way to change it would be just to do a voiceover.
Yeah,
it's like, welcome to the pretty good the Daily Triple. We've got 3 news stories for it. Just a simple thing like that, and replace it. That'll maybe work. But yeah, that was that. Thanks for that question, Dale.
Next one is another question from Dale. So you've had one question, yes, but what about a second question? You find the Sword of Legend or the Book of Prophecy, the whatever. You're now involved in a Scott Pilgrim or never-ending story sort of situation. You are the Earth's
Nerevarine.
And we're watching you, Scum. I'm sure the Nerevarine is something, but I don't know what it is. How fucked are we, the rest of the world, in the face of impending doom with one of you as our saviour? You're pretty fucked. What can we... Well, if we've got the Sword of Legend, what special powers does that give us? Well, the Book of Prophecy, that's probably a more useful weapon if it gives us prophecies in that, like what the doom is, when it's coming, what kind of threat we're going to have to deal with. I think that's probably the more useful item. But yeah, we're not superhuman. Gaz works out. I don't. So he's more of a... He's going to put up more of a fight than I will. I'll just run the fuck away and then get gassed out because I'm so unfit and probably get eaten by whatever the doom is anyway.
You're pretty fucked is the answer, because we're not going to do fuck all. We'll do our best to survive, but we're not saving the fucking world. That's not happening. I'm not sure where you got that stupid idea from.
Is the world worth saving? Maybe I'm on the doom side.
Yeah, probably not. Let's just start again, innit? Just wipe everything out and start again. So yeah, you're absolutely fucked with us.
Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Anyway, Dave. Metalshark has the next question for Henry. Are you tempted to replay Doom Eternal now its prettiness for PC has been released?
I am very tempted to replay Doom Eternal. So
this is the 4K. Is it the 4K update or something we're talking about?
Something like that. I think it launched this week or at the end of last week. It's just a bunch of extra visual upgrades and whatnot for the PC version.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I am pretty tempted. It's available on PC Game Pass, I'm pretty sure. And I would expect that version to still get these upgrades. Oh, that's a bug. But the most recently, before playing Scarlett Nexus, I did the same thing to try out how pretty it was. Downloaded Control, because that's on Game Pass as well, and put up like ray tracing and everything, and that does put the PC to the test with trying to maintain a 60 with ray tracing. But ray tracing just elevates that game so much. It makes it so much better. Like when you're playing it with it off, you turn the game on and you've got ray tracing off at first. You're like, yeah, it looks cool. Then you turn it on and it's like seeing in color for the first time. And then you turn it off again. Everything looks so flat, so dull. It's just boring concrete. No shine, no depth, no texture really. So yeah, I don't know if I'll finish it or like a whole new playthrough on PC. But yeah, I'm definitely considering doing Doom Eternal again, because it's my game of the year for... It was last year, wasn't it? It came out, I think so. My game of the year for last year, and playing it on PC will be a completely revolutionary experience for how you play that game, because it's a first-person shooter. They're always better on PC. But I haven't done it yet. I probably will at some point. That's the answer to the question. I am tempted, but I haven't done it yet.
There you have it. So
the next question is from... Excuse me, Ravage 3D. Henry, as your Game of the Year contender for last year, how do you feel about Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut $70 price tag, and how do you both feel about Sony's PS5 trend of Director Cut games, Spider-Man, Final Fantasy VII, Death Stranding, instead of free upgrades? I am not one for this silly Sony versus Xbox war, but it makes me want a PS5 less and less if I could bloody find one. But then Horizon is incoming. I guess Nintendo has been doing it for years. So the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut thing, it's not like 100% confirmed yet, but there was some ESRB ratings board for it. Whatever it is coming out, but no one quite knows what's going to be in it. There's speculation that it will come with a new DLC pack, which has been rumored, called Ghost of Ikishima, I think it was, which is believed to be a single-player story-based expansion. But again, that's all rumor. No one knows what any of that is. So that's the context. Yeah, I don't really like these director's cuts things. In some ways, because it does just feel like another way to make more money. But
yeah, absolutely.
But when it comes to like games like The Witcher, where it had loads of expansions, or I don't know, Skyrim or Fallouts or whatever, big RPGs where they've had loads of add-ons, and then you paid premium DLC add-ons, I should clarify, and then you can get the game of the year or the complete edition further down the line. Then just do that. The amount of times, like, same with The Walking Dead, Telltale's The Walking Dead. I never bothered doing it episode to episode. I was like, right, I'll wait just a little bit and get it all at once. I think it's an extra option for the player, and so long as this rumored DLC thing for Ghost of Tsushima isn't exclusive to the Director's Cut, which I'm sure it wouldn't be because they'd be leaving money on the table, then I don't really see a problem with it, because if you're willing to wait, you will get the more, the complete package, especially with all of regular upgrades and patches and whatnot.
I think the problem is at the same time, the people who supported the game at launch, they get left out in the cold on this new content. Whereas a lot of games, the point is a lot of games these days, and they even did it with Days Gone. They just supported it after launch and updated it and brought new game features, new game plus or whatever. They do all that. This is how the games industry is these days, and to put another more complete edition together to try and sell you or upsell you again when you've already bought the base game. You could argue that you could just buy the additional content separately. I think it's, I don't know.
It comes down to how they handle DLC. If the DLC is valuable in the first place, then for a newcomer it makes sense to be able to just buy the complete edition or whatever marketing buzzword, because it's all in one place. But if it's bullshit, then it's dirty. I think the problem isn't the director's cuts, it's whatever the DLC content is, first and foremost. I mean, the Final Fantasy VII thing, that's absurd, because that's a game that's still not even fully out. I mean, it's the remake part 2 or whatever it's going to be called, because it's not really a remake. Who knows when that's coming out, but instead they add this extra chapter with a character who isn't remotely part of this part of the story. It's all brand new original shit, and I'm like, well, but that's not what anyone wants. I mean, by all accounts, it's meant to be quite good, but they're really stretching Final Fantasy VII for every little penny. I don't expect to see the next part of it for at least another 2 years.
So hopefully that shed some light on how we feel about that. Ravage 3D. And let's move on to the last question from Tons. The budget action RPG Greedfall is getting the old next-gen upgrade for owners BOF, the physical and digital version.
I think that must just be a typo.
Yeah, owners of the physical and digital version. PS Plus owners of the game, however, get locked out of the free update, and people are calling this unfair. How do you guys perceive the trend of free upgrades to certain versions of the game? This is, I don't know who makes this decision, whether it is the PlayStation Store, Sony, or the actual makers of Greedfall. I wouldn't say it would be... who did make Greedfall? Focus Home Interactive published it, developed by Spiders. I don't... If they're offering a free upgrade on some platforms, it would be weird of them to decide not to give a free update on the Sony platform for whatever reason, unless there's some restrictive fees or whatever around that. That's maybe what it is that Sony are like, well, if you want to upgrade your game, you're going to have to pay us a fee. And they're like, this is a free upgrade. And well, still you have to pay us because you're updating, because they want money from... It's probably down to Sony, or a decision that Sony's made, which is why PS Plus owners get locked out of the free updates. So let's blame Sony, because for me it doesn't make any sense any other way. So it's let's not blame the publishers, or I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit assuming. I
don't think it's remotely unfair if the PS Plus version doesn't get a free upgrade. I think it probably should. The only reason it doesn't is because someone has decided it doesn't, rather than deciding that it does, if that makes sense. Like, if all the PS4 versions across the board did it, then that would be, make sense. That's like the default, right? But I don't think it's remotely unfair, because it's a free upgrade if you've already bought the game. It's on PS Plus. You're not getting it for free. So it sucks, but I don't think it's unfair in the slightest. You're not putting anything in, so why would you get the upgraded version? I don't know. It's not great.
Yeah, I understand
but
that.
I wouldn't ever use the word unfair to describe that.
Yeah, I guess that's some players just thinking, well, I've got this access. I got access to the game through PS Plus, and I'm paying a subscription for it. And other, people who've bought this game outright are getting a free upgrade, and I'm not.
Because they bought the game. You haven't bought it. You're paying for PS Plus, but it's you also get the multiplayer, and there's normally at least one other game on the PS Plus bundle thing. So I don't know. I don't think it's unfair at all. It's a bit shit.
Yeah,
and it's so
it's a bit shit.
It is Sony being a bit a bit dirty. Not dirty, but incentivizing players to buy the dedicated PS5 version. But yeah, I don't see any problem with it really.
Yeah, you would want to think
it's a
that
free
Focus
game.
Home
How can
want
you
everyone
complain?
to play the free. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's all there is to say, I guess. But thanks for your question anyway, tons. If you have any opposing opinions or any other opinions to add, leave them in the comments as usual, and we'll probably read them. Let's move on now to the next segment of this podcast, which is the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. This comment was left on last week's video. Sony warns PS4 players not to buy Cyberpunk 2077. And Fliss Sack makes our Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. And he says, or they say, "Oh, STFU. Cyberpunk was in better shape on premiere than Witcher 3, and you praise this. BC, everybody do that. You are weak mentality individual."
Okay, you
Wow.
weak mentality individual.
You are weak mentality individual. I love it. I love it. That's choice, that is. Obviously,
And you are poor English
triggered.
speaker.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps they are English.
We can forgive that. We can forgive that. But shut the fuck up. Cyberpunk was in better shape on premiere than Witcher 3, and you praise this because everyone do that. So we are weak mentality individual, apparently, because we didn't praise Cyberpunk. Because we didn't praise Cyberpunk as much as we did The Witcher 3. I'm not sure. I mean, this is just like a point where this guy likes Cyberpunk. He's triggered by what was in the video, and he's throwing on loads of assumptions, like we were praising The Witcher 3 at launch. We didn't do that. We weren't even a channel when Witcher 3 launched. Because everyone does that. No, we fucking didn't. We didn't. We are weak mentality individual. Well, that's because our Cyberpunk experiences don't matter. Are you talking about what we said about Cyberpunk in that video, or are we talking about what other people are saying about Cyberpunk? Whether because Sony says it's back on the market, are you talking about them? Are you talking about us? What does this mean? What are you talking about, Fliss Sack? Like, explain yourself. Why are you Why are you defending this game so much when it's obviously in bad shape and still is? I don't get it.
Nope.
I don't get it. But yeah, that was the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week.
Quintessential Triggered Fanboy. He's needlessly angry about stuff that we may or may not have even really said because he's just projected. That's, your Triggered Fanboy in a nutshell.
That's beautiful, is that. Okay, let's move on to the regular YouTube comments from this week. Do you have anything you wish to share, Henry?
One here which I think is funny. I see this kind of thing all the time. Ashley Jarvis says, again, it's the same video, the Sony warns PS4 players not to buy Cyberpunk. Ashley Jarvis says, ironically, the YouTube pre-ad for the video was an advert for Cyberpunk 2077. It happens all the time, and I don't know if it actually helps, but in the description box, you can decide what game appears there, and generally you'll pick whatever game you're talking about. And I think that influences what ads will be played in and around the video, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, I think it's so funny, especially when we're criticizing it and then they're advertising it.
Absolutely does. It absolutely does, because that's the way that Google or YouTube allocate advertising revenue. So if they've got a bunch of money from CDPR to advertise Cyberpunk, and a bunch of videos have been uploaded about Cyberpunk, they'll throw those adverts on those videos, and that's just how YouTube works. So yeah, you're more likely to get a Cyberpunk advert on a Cyberpunk video because of that. So whether it's positive or negative video, it doesn't matter. The video's about Cyberpunk, so you're gonna get a Cyberpunk, and it's funny. It's really funny because a lot of people might click these Cyberpunk meme videos just to have a laugh at the expense of the game, and then you get served with the Cyberpunk advert beforehand. So that's pretty funny. All right, on the same, actually, it's the same, a different video. It's about your GTA 6 video, right? Slash the second comments. I like this one. Cyberpunk 4154 will be out before GTA 6. And the reason I like that is because he's done his sums and he's literally double 2077 and made it 4154, which is what 2077 times 2 is. So that would be the sequel to Cyberpunk. I like that one because there's a little bit of maths in there, right?
So I've got one here from Beech Horn, who is also known as Metalshark. Mainly because I think you're the only one who picked up on my little pun. I don't think anyone else clocked it. In, again, the GTA video, I said the words adapt with the crimes as opposed to like adapt with the times, and that's what you got. Quoting me, idea of cryptocurrency does seem appropriate to adapt with the crimes. Wordplay and shade throwing like a poetic parasol. Thank you. Someone appreciates my indomitable wit.
Validation!
I'm funny, like me.
Yeah, there you have it. Another comment on the GTA 6 not coming until 2025 video. We talked about the mistake earlier about CJ not being CJ, actually being Caesar. Another comment here from HRISI 9801, cracking name by the way. Niko Belic is not from Poland. Oh, you've already talked about that, right? He's from Yugoslavia and he fought in the civil war for his country. Again,
I think there's funny replies to that one. Where is it? I think it's near the top. Yeah. Oh no, it's not that one. There's another one.
Serbia
to something like that, where they're like, "Oh, a true fan would know." I'm like, all right, I'm not a true fucking fan then. Oh, fine. I don't love GTA. The only one I've played back to back, front to back, is 5. I've played bits of 4, bits of Vice City, bits of San Andreas. I actually played more of 3 than Vice City or San Andreas. But I never did the story in them. I just used them as a sandbox game to blow shit up. Put the cheats on, all guns, blow stuff up. That's fun. So I got one here, which is my funniest version of this comment, which is again about my foolish mistake, my dishonorable error, saying that CJ was in fact some other guy. It's from Riemann Human. Do you think he knows that wasn't CJ? Then in brackets, looks through the comments. Doubt it. Should let him know. Because that's what every fucking fuckwit does. It's like, oh, it's not CJ. Although if you look, you'll see that everyone has made the same joke. Make original jokes. This guy has spun the joke with a bit of sarcasm. So at least that's something good. I like you, Riemann Human. Thank you. Thank you for correcting my fatal error.
Yeah. Okay. Any more comments?
I got one here, which I think is quite an interesting point and talk example of the state of the industry, really. From Ravage 3D Work. UK sales charts are a joke. All 8 supermarkets around here only stock 5 PS4/5 games and 5 Xbox games, which are the same ones week after week, and with 1 or 2 spots empty. While they have 10 to 15 Switch games and big displays at the front with titles updated all the time. The nearest video game shop is 20 miles away, and not counting second-hand only stores. Supermarkets killed the video game store and now are pushing everyone to digital. And then another point, CDPR just needs to keep their mouth shut, head down and sort the game out. Yes, they do. But yeah, I think the supermarket thing is interesting because it's absolutely correct. There used to be a game in the UK, the big game shop is just called Game. There used to be one here where I live, but that's gone. It's now like some like Holland and Barrett type shop, you know, just selling wellness goods and shit. I don't give a shit about my health. I want to play video games.
It's the opposite.
Fuck out of here. But I think it's totally true that supermarkets have helped contribute to the death of the video game, like, brick and mortar store. But at the same time, it is just the nature of the market. Like, I don't think the supermarkets are incentivizing buying online because they don't want that. They don't gain anything from you buying digitally. But yeah, I think it goes the other way around. The influx of people buying digitally has contributed to the death of brick and mortar game stores and the decline in popularity of physical media across the board. I do agree with you. Like, I don't like it, and It's why every time there's the story about game sales charts, it's always the UK only, so that's worth bearing in mind, and it's only physical, because no one shares digital figures. If they start sharing digital figures, then it'll be much more transparent about what games are doing what. That's why it's still impressive, though, that Nintendo every single week are killing it in physical. That every week they've got like 5 or 6 games, and it's always the same ones. It's always Mario Kart, Minecraft, the Switch version. Sometimes Smash Bros is in there. Sometimes Mario 3D World, Bowser's Fury's in there. Nintendo they're still in that market, but none of the other big platform holders are really. They'll get like 1 or 2. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, I think especially with the supermarkets only offering limited amount of games on those specific. Depends on the size of the supermarket. Obviously, you go to a huge Asda, you'll get like a load of. You go to a smaller, like my local Morrison's, for example. I don't think they even stock any games in there. Yeah. But I think the Tesco over in Prestatyn, it's got like the book section. It's just like so many books, and then right next to it you might have 2 or 3 games of each platform. But it's just the demographic of people that go through that shop, right? The middle-aged people who like reading, they don't like playing games, and you maybe get a lot of Nintendo games because the kids are with them, and they're like, "Oh, we want that Nintendo game." I don't know, but yeah, that's just how it is. It's sad, but it's true. And there was a story this week about the amount of I heard it briefly. The amount of, I think it was last week actually, the amount of pre-orders based on E3 content was like Nintendo was in like 4 of the top 5 or something. Like so much money was thrown
Metroid,
down for pre-orders of Nintendo
Wild.
Games. Yeah, I thought it was just a funny little fact that like all these Nintendrones are like throwing down money in pre-orders on these games, and the other players are a little bit more skeptical, won't be putting down those pre-orders. But hey, that was a tangent. I don't have any more comments. Do you have any?
No, I've not got any more. I mean, I could keep fishing, but I'm done here.
That's it then. That's it. Let's move on to the final segment of this podcast, which is the bad dad joke of the week. Okay, TheWitcherWiggle offers the first this week. What do you call a Jedi who loses his composure under pressure?
I don't know.
Panicking Skywalker. That's a classic.
Yeah, that's
classic pun. Tons has the next one. Today I'm attaching a light fitting to the ceiling. I've never done it before. I'll probably screw it up.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a fact. Henry, where's your sense of humour? I
was actually thinking, well, you might not screw it in because not all of them are screws. Some of them are bayonet, but you know.
Okay, and the final one from Marcus Hicks. To the guy who invented the number 0, thanks for nothing.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, all right. The first
Henry
one was the best
not
one.
Have
Panicking Skywalker was my favourite, but I am biased because I'm a Star Wars fanboy.
Panicking Skywalker. There you have it. That's the bad dad joke of the week, and that is the podcast. Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Thanks for everyone who supports us on Patreon, gets early access to the podcast. By the way, if you do want to sign up to Patreon, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. For as little as $1 a month, you can support this podcast, get early access, ask us questions in the Discord, and get access to the members-only Discord area. Really appreciate everyone for chipping in, and we'll see you again in the next video. Until then, bye for now.
Yeah.